Hello, everyone, and welcome to Leadership Evolution, the channel where we talk about all things leadership and leadership development. Today, we want to talk about imposter syndrome. You know, those times when you feel like you're a fraud or that your accomplishments mean very little because deep down you don't think that you have what it takes or that you're qualified for the position. That's what imposter syndrome is. I find that imposter syndrome is common among young leaders. If you're young, then you may believe that you don't have enough experience to be in the position that you're in, or you don't believe that your expertise matches up to everyone's expectations. And you may fear that one of these days you'll be exposed as a fraud. And you kind of wonder what everyone thinks about you, what everyone's saying behind your back. And this feeling of fake comes from a belief that you have to be perfectly experienced and qualified before you take that position. Imposter syndrome is also very common among those who are new to their position, especially if it's a position of leadership. I call it fake it until you make it syndrome. They have this mindset that until I make it, I've got to fake it. I have to pretend that everything's going well, that I've got things under control, that I know everything that I need to know. The reasoning goes, if I pretend long enough, eventually it will be true. No wonder they feel like a fraud. No wonder imposter syndrome is prevalent. Of course, if every day you spend your time faking something, you're going to feel like an imposter. And what this all boils down to, imposter syndrome really means a lack of confidence. And whether you're young and new to your position, or have been around for a while, imposter syndrome can reach deep into your soul and suck the confidence right out of you. When you aren't feeling confident, it can bleed into your performance. You start second guessing your own decisions. You start to imagine that others can see right through you and are talking behind your back. And you begin to wonder if you really do have what it takes. So where does imposter syndrome come from? Where does this lack of confidence that you have, if you're experiencing this, where does this come from? Your doubt about yourself and the lack of confidence that you have does not come from the outside. It does not come from people who are questioning your experience or looking sideways at you, wondering if you know what you're doing. Your lack of confidence really doesn't come from the circumstances that don't turn out the way you want. I would like for us all to have the courage today to take responsibility for our own lack of confidence and acknowledge that it's coming from inside of us, from inside. It's coming from a belief that we hold, often unaware, that's holding us back. It stems from what we're paying attention to and what we're not paying attention to. And it's reinforced by our habits, how we've learned to cope with this lack of confidence that we feel. Our lack of confidence comes from three sources: wrong focus, limiting beliefs, and bad habits. So let's talk about your focus. If I were to ask you why you think you don't feel confident, why you feel like you're an imposter or a fraud, you might say to me, well, I'm shy. I'm inexperienced. I'm young. I'm new to this role and I don't know what I need to know. I'm uneducated. I don't have a degree in this. Look at everybody else around me. They're all really smart. I'm not. Or I'm poor. I'm a minority. I didn't have the opportunities that everyone else has. And so you're focusing on everything that's wrong about you. And because you're focusing on everything that's wrong about you internally now, this is in your mind and in your soul, that's why you don't have confidence. You are drawn to what you focus on. And these things become a self-fulfilling prophecy. I live here in Colorado and I like to snowboard. And I can remember even this past season, I was out snowboarding and I was in terrain that I wasn't familiar with. It was a little bit challenging for me and there were trees everywhere. And I was kind of going down the hill, trying to keep in control, trying to keep my speed in check. And I was staring at the tree and I was saying to myself, don't hit that tree, don't hit that tree. avoid that tree. I've got to miss that tree. The tree's getting closer. I got to miss that tree. And guess what? Yeah, you guessed it. I hit the tree. And do you know why? Because you go where you look in snowboarding. And it's true in life. If you're focusing on everything that's wrong with you and everything that is not complete inside of you and everything that you think is weak about you, if that's your focus, then that will be where your life goes. That will be your attitude. That will be your aura. That's what you'll be drawn to. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. So if you don't have self-confidence and you're experiencing imposter syndrome, you're probably focused on the wrong things. The second part of the triad is your beliefs. These are the things that you tell yourself about what's going on. This is what you've convinced yourself of. You're not confident because you've convinced yourself of something based on faulty data. Let me go back to the snowboarding illustration. Let's say that I hit a tree, which I did this past season. And let's say that I went out the next day and I'm snowboarding, and again I looked at a tree and hit it again, or hit another tree. I might begin to tell myself, I probably will begin to tell myself, you know what? I am a terrible snowboarder because I always run into trees. And what I believe about myself becomes true. And you may not be confident because of some of the beliefs that you've adopted about what you've noticed about yourself. Again, so go back to your focus. You're focusing on everything that's wrong about you. And so now you're telling yourself some things that I'm young, therefore I cannot lead. I'm a minority and everybody's against me. I don't belong here because I don't have a degree. Everyone else is smarter than me. I am a fraud. My accomplishments mean nothing. And you get to run this tape recorder inside of your brain, and these become beliefs that solidify into a persona. The third part of the triad is the habits that you see yourself partaking in every day. You're taking actions that reinforce what you believe. So back to the snowboarding example. If I'm hitting a tree because I'm staring at it, and I do that a couple of times, I might convince myself that I'm a terrible snowboarder and I don't like to get hurt. And so the habit that I'm going to adopt is I just won't do it. I'm going to retire the snowboard, or I'm only going to ride easy treeless runs. You see how my habits begin to conform to my beliefs and my focus? And so your habits are reinforcing your lack of confidence. When it comes to experience, I've talked to people who are passively waiting for enough time to pass so that experience just happens. Experience just magically happens. I've been doing this now for 10 years. I must be experienced. And they wasted 10 years of confidence because they were waiting for some magical calendar date to come and go so that they could say, well, now I'm experienced. You see, that's a bad habit that reinforces the loss of confidence. You know, when you look for and hang on to any piece of affirmation that you can get from other people because you don't believe in yourself, that's a habit that reinforces your lack of confidence. If when things don't go your way, you blame and complain instead of taking responsibility, and you're pushing away your responsibility onto others or onto circumstances, that's a great way to stay in the cycle of no confidence and imposter syndrome. When you constantly try to prove to everyone else that you have what it takes, that whole fake it till you make it syndrome that I was talking about earlier, if you're constantly faking it and trying to convince everyone else that you have what it takes, but when you know deep down that you're actually faking it, well, that's a habit. That's a habit that reinforces what you believe, what you're focused on, and everything else, right? So what I'm getting at is, taken together, these three things come from a cycle that keep you from being confident and make you feel like an imposter. And it's no wonder that you struggle with imposter syndrome. Here's the good news. Even if what we just talked about describes you, even if you're the most uncertain person in the room, you can change. And the better news is you can change in this instant, right now. That's the good news. You don't have to stay stuck in a cycle of imposter syndrome. So how do you do this? How do you change? Well, let's go back to the three things that are contributing to your imposter syndrome in the first place. And I want you to know that if you change any one of these things, you'll immediately see a difference. And by the way, all three of these things are completely in your control. So if you change any one of them, you will immediately see a difference. I'll go even further to say that if you change all three of these things, you'll transform into the leader that you want to be. And you can do that right now. You can change your focus right now. What do you have that you can put your attention on and appreciate right now? Maybe you're good with people. Put your attention on that and appreciate it. Maybe you're good with numbers. Focus on that for a second. Put your attention there and appreciate that about yourself. Maybe you have a good memory, a supportive family. Maybe you have an ability to learn things quickly. Maybe you have an ability to make order out of chaos. I mean, the list is just endless. But if you can switch your focus from what you don't have to what you do have and begin to appreciate that, now your focus has changed. And if you'll do that even right now, you'll notice the feeling of confidence just arises. It bubbles to the surface. So change your focus. You can do that right now. How about changing your beliefs? Changing what you're telling yourself. You can change that right now. You can change what you're telling yourself about success. If success is something that you attain and you've arrived and you're done and it's complete, I've made a lot of money, I've got a lot of friends, I've got a bunch of things, and I'm healthy, so I'm successful. If success is a destination like that, then you might always feel a lack of confidence because very few of us ever get there. That finish line that we put out there is ever moving and ever shifting, and we just can't seem to find it. And so instead of telling yourself that success is out there and I've got to get there, until I get there, I've got to fake it, try telling yourself something different. Again, success could be the journey, the process. It's taking pride in something, in doing something, not in having something done. It's learning, it's experiencing, it's developing your potential. And by the way, when you're experiencing things every day that you've intentionally chosen because it's the journey that you love and you define that as success, when you do that, there's no need to fake anything because it's all real. So change what you're telling yourself. Change your beliefs. Maybe change your belief or what you're telling yourself about your limitations. For every limitation you can name, there is an opportunity and an advantage that you have. For example, you may look at the fact that you're young and inexperienced as a weakness or a limitation. Well, flip that and start telling yourself the good part of that. I'm young, and so I have energy. I'm young, so I'm mentally sharp. I'm young, so my best days are ahead of me. Do you see what I'm saying? You're young. That's truth. Everything else is the story that you attach to it. And you get to choose the story that you attach to it. So tell yourself a different story. So you take what's true and you identify what you're telling yourself about what's true, and you make sure that you flip that so that it's positive and it's serving you, right? You can change what you're telling yourself today, right now. Change your habits. The third part of the triad. You can change those today. Rather than waiting to make it, build something today. Rather than looking outward for approval, source it from within. You can learn, you can grow, you can build, you can experience, you can be curious. These are all habits that will serve you well that you can choose today. And friends, when you change your focus and you change your beliefs or what you're telling yourself about the situation, and you change your habits, you will transform into the leader that you want to be. You do this every day and you will become experienced and knowledgeable and so confident that you will just amaze yourself. You won't have to fake it because you're making it every day. Imposter syndrome does not have to be true for you. As always, I'm really happy that you watched this video with me today. Thank you for spending the time. If you like what you saw here today, hit the like button, subscribe if you wish. And thank you so much for spending time with me today. And I'll see you in our next video.